It's a quick video. So like I said, I never quite understood why people thought that Canelo would beat Dimitri Bivol. Of course, the difference in this fight was the footwork, foot speed, foot cardio. That is Canelo's Achilles heel. And so, as I predicted, Dimitri Bivol won the fight. The judges actually tried to give the fight to Canelo, which was crazy. This was not a close fight. People try to minimize what Bivol does, but as you know, footwork is everything in boxing. That's your foundation, your stance, and your footwork. Bivol has that. And that's why he's been dominating for so long. I'd like to see Bivol versus Bidibiev. Or the winner of Bidibiev, Joe Smith Jr. Those will be good fights. They're talking about a rematch. Canelo wanted a rematch with Bivol. Like I said, he has to work on his foot cardio and his foot pacing. He's got to work on that. You can't just rely on your upper body movement, feints and stuff. You have to actually be able to commit to, moving those feet for 12 rounds. Not going to win no fight if you don't do that. And you have to be able to move them at different speeds, different paces. Stick and move, stick and move. That's basically, if I were to break down Bivol's style, it's a stick and move style. But notice, Bivol also was fighting Canelo in close, just like Floyd, and he was countering the counterpuncher. Right? Ain't really much to say. I mean, we've seen Floyd beat Canelo. We just watched Bivol beat Canelo. It's nothing new. Canelo was landing some really, really hard shots. People are saying Bivol was bigger, so that's why he was able to handle the shots. That's not true either. It's about size. Size had nothing to do with this. I'm going to explain why. Canelo faced Callum Smith. Callum Smith, I believe, was 6'4". Has like a 78-inch reach. Okay? Huge guy. Big, strong guy. He faced Sergey Kovalev, 6 feet tall. I believe he has like a 71 or 72-inch reach. Okay? Canelo faced Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., another 6-footer. Long reach and everything. No, size doesn't mean much. Okay? People want to say, he's going up to 170. No, it has to do with the style. Like I said before, Caleb Plant gave Canelo all kinds of problems. He didn't have a tremendous right hand like Bivol has. Bivol has a right hand. He has power, right? Canelo wanted to rematch. Bivol's great. I mean, that's not something that's necessarily something that I disapprove. He spars Frank Sanchez. Frank Sanchez is a heavyweight. Ain't no big thing. The thing I have is, how are you going to outbox this dude? How are you going to outplay this dude? Because Bivol has shown us that he's a much more all-around boxer than people give him credit for. And he's got really good defense. Solid defense. And he was bruising up Bivol's shoulder. But to keep the shoulder going, Joel Diaz, he kept icing the shoulder to make sure that Bivol's shoulder would stay in order. So Bivol was able to pop that jab because Canelo was looking for ways, as I told y'all, this is what Canelo does, to disable the jab. We saw Andy Ruiz disable Chris Ariola's jab. For those of you who never saw the Andy Ruiz-Chris Arreola fight, I advise you to go watch that fight. Andy Ruiz also uses precise footwork to close the distance between his opponents and go to the body. But in the case with Canelo, I told y'all precise footwork would not work in this case because he's dealing with a master technician who controls range. So when Canelo tried to take a step in or advance, Bivol's going to take 2 steps back. Shakur Stevenson's the same kind of fighter. So Canelo had to find a way to get to the inside before he could even get to Bivol's body. And to get that way in with a guy who respects range, who respects distance, Bivol does, and can pivot. You see people pivot off the ropes. Canelo's not getting him pinned on the ropes for very long because Bivol will pivot off the ropes. He knows how to pivot, when to pivot, all these things. So a master technician who's got the feet is everything in boxing. And you saw Bivol back up Canelo because he had the pop, the right hand. He was doing almost some of the similar things that Floyd do with the jab, the probing jab. You know, that probing jab, that timing with that probing jab. He was using it. He was splitting Canelo's guard with the jab. He was doing a lot of very, very interesting things because, again, he's using the jab different ways. You even see Bivol with that wide stance, like that Mayweather wide stance. I'm not saying it's Mayweather that taught him that. If you look at Bivol's trainer, it's an old guy. You see who Bivol's trainer is. It's an old dude. That old dude really knows the science of boxing like nobody's business. All right, Bivol was trained by a really good, great trainer. But my point is, you know, Bivol was picking Canelo apart, and then he would throw that 3-punch combination, that 4-punch combination, ending with the jab. And he would pivot out the way. He'd come in, step into the pocket, and pivot off the way. And so, like all of those things, like I try to explain to people, if you don't have foot cardio, you can't keep up with that. And Bivol was right. Canelo was trying to throw everything hard initially, and he also burned himself out trying to throw everything with power because he was in a higher weight class and he wanted to get Bivol's attention. But Bivol was able to handle that, ride certain shots, block certain shots, and Canelo could hardly penetrate the guard of Bivol. And even when he did, Bivol was like catching this stuff. So, you know, like I said, Canelo, you should have been working on this stuff since Erislandy Lara fight. But instead you tried to cheat. You tried to use a cheat code, and you was trying to cut distance by using precise footwork to walk guys down. But you can't just, I told everybody, you can't use precise footwork with certain fighters. Okay? When you got a real master of stick and move, it's hard for you to just, if you don't got that foot speed, if you don't have that, well, not the foot speed, if you don't have that foot cardio to keep up with that person for 12 rounds, especially that person knows how to, they know points of entry and they know points of exit. Let me say that again. They know points of entry and points of exit. I explained to people, and I've said it, and I'm going to say it again. I think Dmitry Bivol is a better boxer than Vasily Lomachenko. I said it before. I'm going to say it again. The reason I say this is because Bivol can stand right in front of you and you still can't touch him. Right? Where Vasily Lomachenko has to constantly keep moving, Bivol, he just shell up, and he can shell up everything, and he's looking inside that little shell right there. He's looking through that 2-guard to counterpunch you. And you saw him counterpunching Canelo. While Canelo was launching an attack or even countering Bivol, Bivol would come back with a counter. That's a Mayweather-like thing that Mayweather actually did against Canelo. He countered the counterpuncher. And that makes Canelo more gun-shy because now every single little trick he tried to do in there, the guy's one step ahead of him. So, you know, Canelo tried to bait Bivol in to try and counterpunch Bivol, and it didn't work. Bivol was still doing his thing. And Bivol's a defensive fighter. He's safety first. So he's not going to take unnecessary risks, make mistakes, and get knocked out. Unlike Caleb Plant. So his experience played a major key in this fight as well, Bivol. So when people say, I'm going to say this again to hammer the point home. When people say that Canelo was too young when he faced Floyd Mayweather, he was too green. Well, what are you going to say about Bivol beating him? Because it's the same blueprint. All right? Dude can be outboxed. Dude can be out maneuvered. Okay, and the reason the dude can be outboxed and outmaneuvered is because he don't have the foot cardio that he's supposed to have. James Toney could have been outmaneuvered and outboxed. Okay, Canelo is like a Mexican version of Floyd and James Toney, except where Floyd has that foot cardio. Floyd could go 12 rounds, stick and move. Floyd could go 12 rounds, high pace, stick and move. That's how Floyd is able to control the rhythm and the time and the momentum of a fight, is because Floyd got those quick, those not just quick feet, but the cardio to stay sharp from round 1 to round 12 with his feet. He move around that ring and do all kinds of crazy stuff for 12 rounds and more. Bivol's the same kind of fighter with the foot, with the feet. He can go 12 rounds and not burn a sweat. Okay? And the other thing about Dimitri Bivol that a lot of people are underestimating is his inside game. He's actually pretty good on the inside. Right? He shows up just like Floyd again, but Floyd has a different stance. He'll be side on like this. And he just stay there. You throwing your shots, but he's blocking it. He's picking the shots off. And then he starts counter-punching you. And he's very accurate with his counters. So I think all of that sort of makes a big difference. You know, Bivol more squared up. But still, it still makes a big difference. And why Dimitri Bivol was able to beat Canelo Alvarez. Right? So, you know, all this talk about Bivol and couldn't take Canelo punch and all of that, it had nothing to do with his boxing. This was about boxing. This is not about who could bang harder or who got more power shots or who can go to the body better. No, this was about boxing. And pretty much Bivol kept the fight in the center of the ring. Bivol kept the fight on his terms. He was dictating the terms and the range of the fight. He established range from get-go. From round 1, he established range. And then the fight was in his control. Like I said to some people on Facebook, this is fight for Bivol to win or to lose, but it's going to be totally on him because he gets to dictate everything. And even if Bivol, yes, Reese Cola absolutely is a boxing masterclass. And even if Bivol was a smaller guy than Canelo, what I mean by that is weight-wise, he was coming up in weight, he'd have done the same thing to Canelo that he did. Because he's a puncher, but he's not the biggest puncher in the world, but it's his timing. And he does everything off the stick. And he don't throw the stick as much as people think he throws the stick, but he does throw the stick quite a lot. He's not very predictable with his stick either. Not very predictable with his stick. And he don't throw the stick the same way. You know, he throws it different ways. So all of these things is the reason why Bivol was able to beat Canelo. You know, and everybody's thinking Canelo's this beast and everybody had this aura about him. But again, with boxing, you got to break down and see what the style really is. Since that Erislandy Lara fight, Canelo should have been working on his cardio. He should never. I'm going to say this. I'm going to blame the fans of Canelo who've been talking to my mad junk. And I'm going to blame also the boxing community that chained up Canelo for this moment. I'm going to explain what I mean. So, that Erislandy Lara fight, all right, not the Austin Trout fight. He did well in the Austin Trout fight. The Erislandy Lara fight, right? Shout out to Reese Cola and also Intangible Boxing. Shout out to both of you guys. But I always believed, and I actually said this. I said Canelo would beat Triple G, right? And I had Canelo beating Triple G twice, okay? Y'all remember, I'm very consistent. Think about what I'm saying. I said his skills. He knows how to disarm a jab, okay? But what I told people is, if you just come to Canelo with a jab, he's going to beat you. But if you come with jabbing off of angles and the jab is not, cannot be timed. You throw a jab, you can't, first of all, you can't throw, Andrew Ward will tell you this, everybody will tell you this, you can't throw a jab the same way all the time, right? So, the key here was to have an unpredictable jab and to mix the jab up, mix up the angle of the jab. What I mean by that is very simple. So, if I was to demonstrate very simply, You know, I'm here. You know, I feint up top, I come down below. Right? I use feints. Hook, right off the rhythm. Right? So here I am. I'm here. Boom. 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 I'm changing it up, right? I feint the right, and I come with the jab. Right? I feint the jab, I loop over with a right hook. Hook. Right? So you're changing it up. You're changing up. You're changing it up. You're switching it up. Yes. You switch up the rhythm. You switch up the power. You know, you switch it up, and you're switching it up to do different things. So I'm a probe here. I'm a probe here. I'm checking. Whoop, up the center. Right? You know, you're changing up the look. I come with the two guards, and I come back here. You know, as you change up the look of the jab, you're changing up different things, right? So that's what Bivol was doing all night long. That's how he was able to establish the range at which he wanted to fight, and Canelo could do nothing about it. So when I heard people say Bivol's not a jabber, I was like, what? I heard, I think it was David Benavidez said, Bivol's not a jabber. He got a good right hand. I was like, what? What they mean by that is, Bivol don't throw a hard jab. But he's a boxing scientist. You understand what I'm saying? You don't throw everything hard. You don't throw everything with the same speed and velocity. You throw a jab for different reasons. You're not just throwing a jab because you want to throw a jab to keep a guy off you. You understand what I'm saying? All right, let me check you guys here, because there's a lot I wanted to say, but I'm finished saying everything I wanted to say. Okay. Rich Cola says absolutely, it was a boxing masterclass. Yep. And Canelo started avoiding master boxers after the Lara rubbish. So this is what I was going to say to you guys, and I forgot my point. So after Erislandy Lara, you know, he should have started working on that stick and move. He should have been working on the stick and move more than anything else. But he decided to work on power. He decided to work on those things. And he decided, man, I can't be moving my feet like that. That's too much work. So he tried to use precise foot movement to walk guys down. And he was able to do it against Triple G. He was able to do it against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So he said, you know what, I'm going to use this. And, it's fan-friendly and everything. I'm going to stick with that. And he wasn't really working. I could tell he wasn't really working on a stick and move. Why? Because you can see it here. When I see a guy shuffling like this, a guy shuffling back and forth like this, right? I know he could go 12 rounds and he's staying fresh like this with the feet shuffling here and slight little pivots. I know that guy is totally on a different level, right? And I saw that in Bivol. Bivol, he sometimes stands flat-footed in front of a fighter, right? But I noticed that Bivol, his foot movement is like that. He constantly is changing the angle while he's standing in front of opponent. Sometimes he don't do it. He just stand in front of opponent. And then sometimes he don't squat into his stance properly. There's a lot of things Bivol don't do correctly. But ultimately, at the end of the day, those are some of the things. Tangible Boxing News says, war, Bivol. Yeah, well, Rich Cola says switching up the rhythm of the jab. That's correct. Changing the angles, correct. Changing how much per each tone is thrown. Yep. Giving different looks when throwing them, etc. Yes. A jab can be thrown 1,000 ways. Correct, sir. I cannot say Canelo has more skill than Juan Marquez. I simply cannot. Oh, he had more skill than Marquez. Way more skill. You notice Bivol didn't knock him out. Canelo's got excellent defense. Excellent defense. But he was in there with a guy who knows what he's doing and knows the style that Canelo brings to the table. Whereas where Danny Jacobs and these guys like Sergey Kovalev, Danny Jacobs, not Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant knew what he was doing. His jab was actually landing on Canelo. But Danny Jacobs was missing like crazy. Sergey Kovalev was throwing unnecessary jabs. And the reason why those guys, even Triple G to some degree, his jab wasn't always on point. But because Triple G depend more on timing, right? But with Kovalev, he's throwing unnecessary jabs. Danny Jacobs was throwing a whole bunch of jabs, and Canelo was just looking good because he was just slipping all those jabs. And the reason why Bivol could catch him with the jabs, because Bivol understands why you throw a jab. So Bivol will not throw a jab unnecessarily unless he's setting up something, or unless he is literally using the jab to hurt Canelo, snap his head back, or to locate something on Canelo, right? So when Bivol uses the jab, or he may use it to sort of keep distance, blind Canelo and keep distance. When Canelo tries to advance, he puts the jab out on him. Kind of like Marcus Maidana with Floyd Mayweather, like, who else does it? Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez. Sometimes you use the jab to space him out just to keep maintain that range. And sometimes you pull him with the jab. He blocked the two guard with his hand here, and it's right in front of your face like that. So it blind him a bit. So he steps into it like that. So the jab, this guy's a master at what he does. He's a master at controlling range. And Canelo came up against a master. Now, not too many people out there. See, again, I'm saying certain things, and a lot of people don't take me seriously. I'm saying Lomachenko is not as good a fighter as Dmitry Bivol. All right, I can't say for Alexander Usyk. Usyk's got little things he does in boxing, so I can't say that I can't say where Bivol stands with Usyk. Usyk does a lot of good stuff. Okay, Usyk's a very good fighter. But Bivol has shown us, at least when it comes to the light heavyweight division, how dominating he is. You know, Usyk, he had problems with Michael Hunter. Derek Chisora gave him some problems, right? Bivol's, but of course, Derek Chisora was switch hitting and stuff. Michael Hunter's a hell of a fighter as well. But Bivol is a little different. Nobody's really giving Bivol. We can't remember the last time Bivol lost a round. You remember a time Bivol ever actually lost a round? That you look at him, we seen him get stunned with one or two punches, but that's about it, right? So when you look at Bivol, think about what I'm saying here. Think about what I'm saying now. Bivol is a master technician that didn't need the southpaw stance to dominate. He fights in the orthodox stance. Okay? So just taking that into consideration, that, you know, Lomachenko's had some tough fights. You know, Usyk's had some tough fights. Again, that has to do with his opposition. But when you think about Bivol, you don't think of nobody really beating Bivol. If you think about it and the style and what he brings to the table, he's not the most exciting fighter in the world. He's very technical. But when you think about it and his mindset and the way how he behaves and how he conducts himself, you realize there's nobody really that can beat Bivol. If you ask me, because most people think that Artur Beterbiev, and I like Artur Beterbiev, I like him a lot, okay? But if you ask the people in the know who know Bivol and who know Artur Beterbiev, who would win in a fight between Bivol and Beterbiev, most people would tell you, who know them, Bivol. They'll tell you Bivol would beat him. And Alexander Usyk did beat Artur Beterbiev in the amateurs, okay, in the world finals. I think Beterbiev was a heavyweight. He was a super heavyweight, actually. He was one of the biggest heavyweights. So Beterbiev is a big guy that fights at light heavy. Now, Beterbiev is also up in age, so all of that is a factor. But even if Beterbiev was in his prime, I got Canelo beating Beterbiev, and I got Bivol beating Beterbiev. That's right. I got Canelo and Bivol beating Beterbiev. And the reason really has to do with the speed of Beterbiev. Beterbiev is a guy, if he gets on the inside with you, he's going to try and roughhouse you, hit you with elbows, try and push you down. He's going to try and use his physical strength on you. But in terms of boxing, he's an all-around boxer. He can box off the back foot, front foot. This is true. He's a smart boxer too, but I just think he's too slow for those guys. He's just way too slow. So they're going to catch him with 2, 3, 4 shots, and he now trying to line up to throw one shot. You know what I'm saying? He has decent defense. He's big. He's strong. He's tough. I don't see none of them guys knocking him out. They go the full 12, but at the end of the day, I don't see BWF beating those guys. All right. Canelo is not what you think he is. He's not just run of the mill joker. Some guys are going to come out there and they're going to shit on Canelo and say, "Oh yeah, look at this cherry pick going wrong." Blah 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 blah. He fought I told y'all. He fought the toughest possible opposition you could face at 175. BWF is not the toughest possible opposition at 175. Joe Smith Jr. is not the toughest possible opposition at 175. Bivol is. Now, Bivol will not tell you that. He'll say he's one of the, I saw it in the interview, he'll tell you he's one of the best light heavyweights. Until he has all the belts, he's not going to say that. But he is. I pick him to beat, out of BWF, I pick him to beat Joe Smith. Well, he beat Joe Smith Jr. already, so I don't have to pick that, right? The top heavyweights right now in the light heavyweights in the light heavyweight division, Bivol beats them all. Okay? And I told people that people are going to get to see who Bivol is. Coach Anthony's not very impressed with Bivol for some reason. I don't know why. But I would tell Coach Anthony, you need to go rewatch that dude. He do all kinds of things with the lead hand. All kinds of things. It's not just the jab. He also hooks off the lead hand. But he was mostly throwing straight shots, and hooking with the right hand. Mayweather was doing that too to Canelo, changing levels sometimes and sneaking in that probing jab and then coming around with the hook, coming around with the hook. So, that's what he do. That's what Bivol does. But I think Reese Kohler that he's more skilled than Juan Manuel Marquez. Yeah, absolutely. Marquez is a great fighter and everything, and he knocked out Pacquiao and all that. But I think that Canelo has proven, without a shadow of a doubt, that he is a great fighter. Okay, it's just that I think that Canelo, his foot speed, not his foot speed, sorry, his foot cardio. He has good foot speed. He can move with Bivol. He can hang with Bivol and stuff, but he can't do it forever. He slows down. They say he was on a vegan diet for this fight. He looked good. He looked in shape and everything. People say he didn't have the power that he usually has. I thought he had the same power. I just think that Bivol had what it takes to match him. And Bivol's not actually the biggest light heavyweight. He's like, I think Bivol's like, he's really like a 168 pounder himself. So, but yeah, Canelo needs to work on that foot cardio. I said that a long time ago. I knew that was a deficiency. Rich Kohler says, with Bivol's win, this will inspire more Eastern Europeans to enter the sport. Cubans are now allowed to turn professional. 10 years from now, boxing is going to be so much fun to watch. Yeah, just having a lot of different people from all over the world involved in boxing is always great, And to see Eastern European fighters, getting their shine in the sun after so many years is also a very pleasant thing. It's just that it's kind of bad that Putin is playing an absolute jackass right now. I don't think Bivol even supports Putin on what he's doing. He's not trying to be political. But Bivol's a hell of a fighter. I always loved watching Bivol. He's one of my favorite fighters. And so me having seen Bivol and seeing what he was capable of, I was like, I didn't understand how Canelo was going to beat him. I couldn't see it from the get-go. I couldn't see it. And then Canelo having the difficulty with Caleb Plant. I picked Caleb Plant to beat Canelo. I realized that this, Canelo's trying to do something that is amazing, but he has to keep on working on certain things in his boxing game before he could reach that challenge of beating a guy like a Bivol. He got to keep on working. You got to keep on working on your foot cardio. You got to work on that so you could stay with those guys and be competitive later on in the fight. And then Bivol's a guy that don't just throw the jab just like that. He has a reason why he throws the jab, and he throws it off, like I said before, off of different angles. So you have to be able to match him and cut off the angles. Um, and you might have to do a little bit more bobbing and weaving, slipping and sliding to try to get to the inside. And once you get to the inside, you have to, because once he shells up, yeah, nothing's open, right? You have to now try to tease him to open up, because it's kind of like a Winky Wright kind of guard he puts up. You know, that big guard, kind of Manny Pacquiao, Winky Wright kind of guard, where he cover everything. So, you know, even Erislandy Lara has a big guard like that, actually, now that I think about it. Bivol has a very high plus minus ratio. He's up there in the hit and not get hit department. That's what he do. Bivol's not one of those guys who believes in, obviously he does not believe in I take one to give you four or something like that. He's not that kind of fighter. He is a hit and not get hit kind of fighter, right? And he clearly, since the age of 5, he's been doing this, ladies and gentlemen. He clearly believes, you know, that is the philosophy he believes in, which is the philosophy of most fighters, actually, who are elite, that I know about. There's just one or two, you know, Triple G was one, talked about hitting punches. Brandon Rios was another guy, and I was like, y'all crazy, man. That every time you get hit with a punch, your life expectancy goes down. You know what I'm saying? So that's not a good thing, you know. So, you know, Bivol believes in that. That's what he does. His plus minus ratio is pretty good. Hell of a fighter, Bivol is, and there's a reason why he's undefeated right now. See, everybody always talk about how, you know, like with Bivol or whoever, they talk about undefeated fighters like if, you know, there's something wrong with being undefeated, or there's something wrong with winning all your fights. And they try to find flaws in a fighter's career when the fighter keeps on winning. But there got to be something they're doing right. Joe Calzaghe, Andre Ward. Listen to the names, man. Floyd Mayweather, Rocky Marciano. They got to be something they're doing right. Why they stayed undefeated. Why they were able to win all their fights. They actually had a flawless record. There's a reason why that's so. Now, obviously, Dimitri Bivol told you what it is. He wasn't interested in what happened after the fight. He wasn't interested. He would focus on what was in front of him. This is the guy in front of me. I'm dealing with him. That's the kind of focus. That's the kind of application it takes to win every single fight. Because every single fight that's in front of you, that is the most important thing. Nothing else matters but the fight and the fighter who's in front of you. That is what it takes. Not no set of rhetoric. That is what it takes to win every single fight in front of you. You can't take nobody for granted, and you have to stay dialed in and focused on the guy that is in front of you. It doesn't matter who that guy is. It takes also being a master of certain skills, but the point is, that is the way how you have to think. You can't think how everybody else is thinking. Oh, this is a great fighter, blah, 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 blah. No. And Canelo is a great fighter. Arguably one of the greatest Mexican fighters of all time. And he's still going to be that. But when it comes to Bivol, he was focused. He was dialing on what he had to do. All the conditions were reasonable for him. And he did what he had to do. He executed what he executed as he needed to execute. Okay? And Bivol, while the win over Canelo was great and everything, he put it in the right context. He said, this is a guy coming up in weight to face me. So, while he's pound for pound the greatest fighter in the world and all of that, my focus, now that the fight is over, is on other light heavyweights. And me becoming the light heavyweight top guy out there. So you could tell Dimitri Bivol, as much as, you know, he's very happy on getting the win and everything, he's also still very focused on what lies ahead of him. While he doesn't have to really like mentally right now go deep into focus anymore, he can relax a bit and celebrate and all these other things. He understands his journey is nowhere near finished. So that's the thing with a lot of people. Take Andre Ward, for example, right? Um, Andre Ward, once his career was there, he was dialed in. You know what I'm saying? He could have his little breaks and whatever, but he would dial in what was before him. Because for guys like Andre Ward, Bivol, um, Mayweather and Company Limited, who won all their fights, Joe Kawasaki, and all who won all their fights. Understand, these guys are dialed in from fight to fight, from fight to fight. They're dialed in. They're focused on what they need to do. They're not, and they know what it takes to win, and so they dial into that. And that's and they got the confidence in their skills and abilities. So, the fans that come out with excuses for why these guys beat other fighters, or the people who try to tarnish the legacies of these fighters, whether it's Joe Kawasaki, whether it's Andre Ward, whether it's Floyd Mayweather particularly, whether it's Rocky Marciano, don't do that. Don't try to do that, because here's what you're doing. You're now saying that what these guys did and the method and the mentality they had, it's not really legit. It's not really legit. So that people who want to follow after that will realize there's virtue in that, realize that this is what is necessary for us to do well in boxing. Those people, you're saying they shouldn't go that route. They should go the route of the losers. They should go the route of the people who lost fights and stuff like that. No, that's not a proper mentality for somebody who wants to box. Somebody who wants to get into boxing. Also, this is the other thing I gotta say, and this is a very important point in my opinion. With us fans, a lot of us fans try to find excuses for why our favorite fighter lost a fight. Now, I like Canelo, and I also like Bivol. I'm fans of both of them. And nothing's going to change just because Canelo lost the fight. Me, I'm a fan of Canelo, and I'm going to be a fan of Canelo to the end. But, get this straight. I understand and separate the shortcomings that Canelo has from the brilliance that is Canelo. I must do that because, as a fan, I want to see my fighter win as many fights as possible. I want to see Canelo as a winner. I want to see him constantly win. But I have to be realistic, and I also have to realize he has certain shortcomings. And then as a fan, I want to exhort Canelo and his camp, hey man, you got to work on that stick and move. You got to work on that cardio. You got to work on that getting your feet as proper as possible. Get them right as possible. That's I feel my duty as a fan, observing things, to point that out to the fighter. Because I want to see my fighter at the best. I want to see my fighter that I support at his absolute peak, at his best. That's what I believe we as fans should do. Not hate on fighters and be like, I don't care about Canelo, he's a warrior. No! Sometimes in fights, the better man tonight win. You got to ask yourself, when you lose a fight, why did I lose the fight? You have to ask yourself that question. And he should be going through that right now, troubleshooting that. Of course he wants an immediate rematch. He a true champion. He made no excuses. He said, nope. He had good power. He a good fighter. And the better man won tonight. That's the way it has to be, Canelo. I have mad respect for him for that. Other people try to make excuses. Oh, it was the size and stuff. No, it wasn't no damn size. It was the skills. And there is a particular skill set Canelo is lacking. This is why his trainer, Oscar De La Hoya, put up the post. Not trainer, sorry. His ex-promoter, Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar does not hate Canelo. Oscar does not hate Canelo. Oscar wants to see Canelo do well. Trust me. Okay? Because Canelo is part of Oscar's legacy. Tank is part of Mayweather's legacy. You think Adrian Broner is part of Mayweather's legacy? You think Mayweather wants to mentor a guy that ends up becoming a sad story? Hell no. You think Oscar would promote this guy, give him a great platform, give him a great boost in Canelo, send him on his way for him to be a failure? Hell no. Canelo is tied to Oscar's legacy as a promoter and as somebody who has mentored another fighter. So it would be really stupid for Oscar to hate on Canelo. I don't care what Canelo did him or whatever happened with them. But Oscar made a very valid point. Oscar said in an interview, he said that he and Canelo, he believes, fell out because Oscar, after the, I think it was the Lara fight, or one of those fights, I told you, one of the Triple G fights, I think it was, Oscar was suggesting to Canelo that he get another trainer to train him. Because Oscar did that. Even when Oscar didn't lose a fight, and it was a tough fight, he wanted to find another trainer to learn, get more knowledge. So Oscar was telling Canelo based on what he used to do. Canelo wanted to stay loyal to Eddie Reynoso and to Sheppo. And Canelo fell out with Oscar, Oscar believes, over that. The thing I got to say to Canelo is, and Oscar De La Hoya will know because he actually, okay, so this is the thing. Eddie Reynoso came on an interview, a Spanish interview, and was asked, styles like Shakur and Floyd Mayweather, that gave Canelo problems. What do you think about those styles? And what do you think about Oscar Valdez's chances against Shakur? And then Eddie Reynoso said, African American fighters, styles like that with African American fighters are very difficult to beat. And take that piggyback off of what Oscar was saying about a trainer. Think about what happened with Ryan Garcia and why he's with, what's the guy's name? Joe Goosen. Think about the fact that Oscar De La Hoya himself was trained by Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s father, Floyd Mayweather Sr. Oscar knows about the black American slick style of boxing because Oscar firsthand was trained by one of the greatest fighters of all time's father, Floyd Mayweather Sr. So if there's anybody who, when he's seen Canelo's game, is saying, well, you're missing certain things, you're missing certain skill sets, it's going to be Oscar De La Hoya. So when he put up the post with Mayweather beating Canelo and then Shakur beating Oscar Valdez, he wasn't throwing shots, y'all. He was making a statement. You can keep Eddie Reynoso in your camp, but you need assistance, like Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. Anthony Joshua needs assistance. He needs an extra person in his camp. You get what I'm saying? This is not just about ego. This is about you need help. And there's certain aspects of your game that Eddie just can't help you with. You need somebody else who's got the experience in that area. So, Oscar was never saying, dump Eddie Reynoso on those guys, even if that might be what he was effectively saying to Canelo. Canelo felt he was disloyal, maybe. I don't know. This is what Oscar's take on it. I don't know what Canelo's take on it is. But my point is, Canelo always, to me, always had that limitation that I was talking about. He was slick and all of that, and he had a nice upper body movement and everything. And I heard Bivol say all of these things. Bivol was very, very cognizant of the fact that what Bivol does, Canelo has no answer for it. And that is why Floyd beat Canelo. It wasn't because Canelo's flat-footed and slow. He's not slow on his feet. It's that Canelo can't go 12 rounds as he is right now without fading, keeping that foot speed, keeping that, maintaining and keeping that pacing, maintaining and keeping that quickness in his feet. That is his shortcoming. He's better than James Toney in that he's more mobile than James Toney. He's quick. He's beautiful to watch off the ropes and everything. He's got beautiful upper body movement. His problem is his feet. Right? And all you got to do is go watch the Triple G fight, the first one. And notice how he was tiring at certain points in the fight because he couldn't maintain the foot speed. He couldn't maintain it. And thankfully for him, Triple G is not a very fast-footed guy. He depends on timing. If Triple G could move his feet as quickly as Dimitri Bivol was moving his feet, Canelo would have been in all kinds of problems. All kinds of problems. Right? Because his thing is not moving his feet. That's his thing. His problem is he don't move his feet enough and quickly enough. Right? All the time. He's explosive. He has very quick feet. So you can't say he's not fast. You can't say he's not quick. He's not really a flat-footed fighter. When he's walking you down, he's flat-footed. On the back foot, he's very nimble. That's not the problem. The problem is foot cardio. It's always been his problem. That's why he started pot-shotting and stuff, because he'd gas out trying to throw a lot of combinations and move around so quick and explosively. Because he's quick. He's explosive. He can fight off the back foot, the front foot. But his cardio is not great when it comes to moving his feet excessively. So that's why he started using precise footwork, where he didn't have to use a whole set of footwork. You know, he doesn't have to move his feet excessively to close the distance on an opponent. And it's brilliant, don't get me wrong, but it just don't work against opponents who actually can move their feet for 12 rounds quickly. Okay? All 12 rounds. It's a problem. Especially when you're dealing with a master boxer who can keep that range. He establishes the range and he keeps it. You know, Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. You can say this over and over again. Paul Malignaggi will agree with me on this. Okay? Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Mayweather established range from round one. The first time he lit up Pacquiao, well, he came out with intentions to hit Pacquiao. Let him feel his power. Let him feel what he was. So he came out, and the very first punch thrown in that fight was Mayweather with a right hook off a pivot into Pacquiao's guard. I don't know if you guys remember that. That's a lot of skill right there. So he's chasing down Pacquiao here. He pivots in and throws a left hook. He's coming here, right? Pacquiao starts to pivot this way, and Mayweather pivots in and throws a lead right hand as he's pivoting, which is some crazy shit to see done. I never seen too many fighters do that shit. He started off like that, okay? And so my point being that he was coming at him, and then he countered Pacquiao with, in the same round, he countered Pacquiao with a right hand as Pacquiao was trying to double jab in to throw the left hand because he thought he had lead foot position on Mayweather. And he lit him up with a right hand, and that was it. Pacquiao ain't trying to just come in there. I think in the second round, he tried to close the distance explosively. You know his little combination where he throw that a jab, then a left hook to the body, and come over the right over the top. He tried to do that, but he was lunging in as usual, and Mayweather check hooked his ass into the ropes. He was done. He got it. He got the message. Mayweather said, "This the range we fighting at, and we gonna fight at this range." And that's where this literally was a statement. And that's pretty much the same thing Bivol did. You know, Canelo couldn't close the distance, and the fight became a Bivol fight. The fight was over. Pretty much Bivol just had to maintain that range, and every now and then, you know, get back into the ropes, use his defense, pivot back out of the ropes, get back to the center of the ring, right? So that's basically what you saw. Now, the amount of, if I was going to absolute detail about what everything that they were doing is really crazy. But just to keep it simple, you know, that's what was going on. Bivol established range, and that was it. There was nothing Canelo could do because Bivol established range. With Mayweather and Pacquiao, people talk about Mayweather running and all that shit. No, nah. Come on, homie. You gotta, if the range is established, you gotta find a way to get past that dude. Now I'm gonna throw a little something to you guys. You will understand what Pacquiao should have done, which would have helped him a little bit more. But he wasn't thinking like that. Pacquiao tried to be the aggressor in that fight, and I think what would serve Pacquiao with best interest was to actually be the guy to let Mayweather walk him down, give Mayweather more confidence. He didn't really do that, and Mayweather wasn't really necessarily going to take unnecessary risks. One thing about Canelo I like, and again he took this off of Mayweather, is he does just enough, expending his energy to be able to beat his opponent. So he's not trying to throw unnecessary shots. He's not trying to waste punches on fighters. That's the thing with Canelo. He's very efficient. He's become very efficient in what he does. But back to Pacquiao. Pacquiao should have baited Mayweather in, because every time Pacquiao caught Mayweather with a punch, it was because Mayweather was actually throwing a punch and Pacquiao was countering him. So if Pacquiao was to beat Floyd Mayweather, one of the things he should have done was counterpunch him more, which means you press the attack, but like Miguel Cotto, at times you try to get a punch in, and then after you try to get that punch in, you try to go on the defensive, and you start sticking and moving around the ring, and let him come track you down. And that's what a lot of these fighters get roped into. I'm gonna track down Mayweather and knock him out. You never gonna beat this dude like that. Bivol. Bivol's the same kind of guy. They're very safety first, very defensively minded. So to be able to deal with guys like that, you can't just be trying to chase them down to close the distance. You got to get them to come to you. Now, a lot of the pundits out there, said Rich Kohler says you're giving Manny skill he doesn't possess. No, he has skill that he possesses. You know how we know this? Didn't he catch Floyd Mayweather with the left hand in the fourth? Didn't he split the guard and catch him with the left hand in the fourth? He does have that skill. He caught him also in the sixth. Yeah. Again, Mayweather was throwing a lazy left hook, and he caught him in the sixth. Right hook, sorry. And then he caught him again in the eighth. You remember that? The right hand, left hand combination. He went weak side and caught Floyd Mayweather in the eighth as Mayweather was getting hit in the head as he was trying to dip out the way. And then Mayweather made an adjustment, and by the end of the eighth, he was catching Pacquiao with double left hooks and stuff. It's boxing. People get punched. No, but he had success. That's what I'm trying to say. And it wasn't arbitrary. It wasn't arbitrary. He was trying to set traps on Floyd. But he was trying to walk him down and set the trap. Sometimes you have to, like, this is where Pacquiao, he didn't have the right trainer in his corner. Shout out to Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach is an excellent offensive trainer. But you gotta be able to think smarter than that. You hurt Floyd Mayweather. You don't go crashing him. You hurt him. You throw one or two shots. You realize he's shelled up. You move back. And you try to get him to come out of his shell and come after you. And that's where you would get a counterpunch his ass. Because if he's defensively minded and he's in his shell, you're not going to break that. Right? You're not going to break the shell. You have to wait for him to open up. You have to wait for Floyd to open up, which means if you're going to open up, you have to throw something. That's where, in between throwing, that's where you catch him. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Floyd Mayweather. I keep on telling people over and over, Sugar Ray Leonard would never beat Floyd Mayweather in a million years. Why? Sugar Ray Leonard's a guy that throw a lot of combinations. He throw a lot of them little wild-ass left-right combinations. He throw a lot of flurries. He throw a lot of shoe shine, okay, to discombobulate his opponent. In the middle of that fucking shoe shine, you know Floyd gonna catch him. You know Floyd will catch him in the middle of that shoe shine, and all that shoe shine goes out the window. Right? Because you're open when you're throwing. Don't get me wrong. Ray throw from a safe distance at times. Right? He would try and... But he get caught. He get caught in the middle of his shoe shine. I saw Hagler catch him. Slow-ass Hagler. Hagler real slow. Slow like a fucking slug. Right? Caught him with shots, body shots, and with uppercuts and stuff in the middle of his fucking shoe shine. Okay? My point being, you don't beat a guy who can counter you by trying to overwhelm him with offense, and you think you're gonna catch him that way. No, you catch those guys by making them come after you. That's your best shot. That's how Bivol got to counterpunch Canelo. Because every time Canelo's keeping the defense, he's walking. You know, they up close, head to head and stuff. And you know, Canelo trying to pick them left hooks. He's trying to pick on the side, then try to come up the center, right? And then what did he do? As Bivol's timing his ass all the time. He's timing his ass, right? So when he tries to now throw another left hook, what comes after the left hook? A right hook. Just like what Mayweather do, but just in a different kind of stance and everything. He throw a right hook, and then when he come right after with a jab and snap his head right back, right? And we saw that Caleb Plant did that too against Canelo, right? Snapped his head right back. You call it a corkscrew jab. It's a jab that comes after the right hand. So if I throw a right hand here and I come back, right? I throw a corkscrew jab because I start off down here. It's down low. And then I turn it, and so it comes on impact like this. It straightens out and comes in impact like this. And so right after my right hand, whether it's a straight right, a right to the body, or a right hook, I come with a corkscrew jab, and I snap the guy's head back. You understand what I'm saying? I snap his head right back. Okay? And so, again, a lot of people don't know the different jabs. They don't know all that shit, and they don't know why you use it. But that's what Bivol do. And so there's a lot to the boxing, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to break it down a little bit by bit, techniques and skills and stuff like that, so you guys can understand. It's a beautiful sport, like I said before. It's a lot more cerebral than people think. And Bivol knew he could have beat Canelo. He knew that. He knew he had the skills and abilities. He just wanted to put it to the test because he knew what Canelo lacks. So Canelo, somebody get this to Canelo, you still got to work on your foot cardio, bro. You're going to be a much better fighter. You're going to be almost unstoppable if you can get your foot cardio in order. Your defense is great. You know, you have great shot selection and all of that, but your problem is your feet. You got to get that in order. You got good stance and everything. All of that's cool. But your movement, you need to do more of those, you know, you got to do 30 rounds. Just sticking and moving, and then advancing and moving, but with nimble feet. And you got to keep that pace, that momentum. You got to make it. It's got to be very uncomfortable. You got to be doing that like all the time. And repetition. Try and do it as many times as you can and as often as you can, and that will make you almost unbeatable because Canelo has almost all the ingredients. Except for that one factor. He's got everything else. I have Canelo. Full props for Plant. You're mixing footwork cardio together. Cardio is heart muscle thing. Canelo has cardio issues. Canelo's foot issues. He's flat-footed. No, he's not flat-footed. He's not flat-footed at all. Like I said before, footwork cardio. Cardio just simply means you get a circulation to your body and you can maintain a certain sort of activity for a certain period of time. He can't maintain explosive, quick movements, you know, for a very extended period of time. This is the problem with Canelo. You know, he can't maintain foot activity for an extended period of time. He's not that kind of fighter. Bivol could do it. Bivol could stick and move. He could stick and move for 15, 16, 20 rounds. He could just keep on sticking and moving nonstop. Not tired at all. Because he knows how to relax and everything, and he's got quick feet, and he's fast and everything. Yes, he knows where to position his feet. He just didn't have the cardio. He can't maintain it because he has cardio issues. I don't think he has heart issues or anything like that. Canelo, no, I disagree. I just think that Canelo just never worked on those drills like he should have. He should never put that work in on those drills. You're supposed to start off slow, and then you're supposed to take it up and intensify over time. And it takes years to run those drills. And if you want to do a crash course in that shit, then you have to do a lot of repetitions. You got to do a lot of fucking repetitions. The PED test he failed was something to help his cardio. Again, look, the thing about Canelo is he's got to work on his cardio, and it's hard work. You talk about hard work. Well, this is where you have to work hard. You have to do this over and over and over again. He has no heart issues and those kind of things. He's a normal, healthy guy. It's just that he don't want to do that. He wanted to cheat the system. He wanted to find a way to improve his boxing and pot shot more and be more accurate, because he was a very accurate boxer. And he didn't want to throw a host of the combinations and stuff. Again, you don't have to throw a host of the combinations, but the one thing you have to do is you have to work on your feet. And even if you're not throwing a host of the combinations in sparring, you need to be able to do it, because you need to be capable of doing that in a fight if it calls for that. So you may not demonstrate that to the public, but you need to have it. So, we respectfully disagree here, brother. All love, but the boy got cardio issues. He's not running laps. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He's not doing it. I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you that he has cardio issues in the sense that he's not training like a marathon runner. He's not training to stick and move and punch and stuff for long extended periods of time. I mean long, like 30 rounds of that. 33 minutes rounds of that. Like 90 minutes. You gotta really put it in to get that, especially with all the years you haven't been doing it. You're gonna just naturally go in the ring. I want to go back to the cardio and the pacing and everything that you've always been doing. So you have to do a lot of repetition. Like we're talking about doing 40 times. You're doing 15 rounds of sparring where you just on the move, nonstop, on the move, and you need somebody who can push you hard, on the move, real hard. You know what I'm saying? You need that, and you got to do it 40 times, and it'll start to go into your system. By the 40th time, you're good to go. But it's repetition. He needs to do it. Yeah, all that stuff strengthens the heart muscle and improves cardio. Absolutely, 100%. You gotta. I mean, there's no other way. There's no other way for him. It's a hard route, but it's no other way. And we're not just talking about just sticking and moving like this. No, we're talking about all this. We're talking about all this. Because it's about dipping, slipping, bobbing, weave, the whole 9 yards. You got to do that you need to do that 15 rounds, 40 times. That's the only way it's going to actually start to go into your system and become natural. Everything, upper body move, everything. You got to do it, and you got to do it on the back foot, and then you got to do it on the front foot, and you got to get faster with it. You got to get up to a speed and a pacing you're very uncomfortable with. Very. That's the only way you're going to push yourself. That's the only way you're going to be so sharp. See how, I'm going to talk about Floyd a little bit. You see how sharp Floyd is? He's super, super, duper, duper, duper sharp. He don't have a fade. It's because of that kind of training. It's that kind of training. You know what I mean? It's what it takes. You have to do things that nobody else want to do. You got to go places where nobody else want to go. You got to be uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable. And if you're uncomfortable, just imagine how your opponent gonna feel, because you're uncomfortable doing the things that you're doing. You don't want to do them, but you got to do them. And when you do them, it gives you an edge. And that's what he needs. And then if he does that, now we got a fighter that we got to watch. You know what I mean? But he has that. That's his problem. That's his problem. He trains hard and everything, but that is his problem. You know what I mean? Canelo's an all-time great. He's already going down. He's probably a Hall of Famer already with the resume he has. But he has certain deficiencies. My boy Bivol, man. Canelo can fight forward or backwards. He just flat-footed. So a nimble, high-level boxer, he can't bully. That has pop. I don't say he's flat-footed. He's not really flat-footed. I seen Canelo. He's quick. He's quick. He's on his toes. He moves around. You know, that I don't call him a flat foot when he's coming off the front foot. Just like any fighter, Shakur Stevenson, any one of those guys, he fights on the flat-footed. Bivol was flat-footed at certain points in the fight, but I never considered Canelo a flat-footed fighter. I never considered him a flat-footed fighter, but I do know he don't like. He really doesn't like it. He does not like moving around the ring all the time. He's not really a mobile fighter. He prefers to, fight in the pocket. That's his thing. He bullied a lot of high level nimble boxers. He bullied a lot of them, and he even but yeah, definitely not a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't put him in ATG because I reserve that for the top 10. Canelo ain't in the top 10 conversation. No, he's not. Not right now. You're mixing him being explosive with him being flat-footed. No. I'm literally, he fights on his toes when he's ready. He actually boxes on his toes. But I think he's flat-footed to put full leverage. Like if you're walking down a guy like Mayweather versus Zab Judah, right? Mayweather versus Zab Judah Mayweather was fighting flat-footed. He was just walking him down. When you're walking down a guy, you want to get as much leverage in your punches as you possibly can. You will fight flat-footed. I saw him fight flat-footed against, I think it's Marcos Maidana. Was it Marcos Maidana? I think he wasn't really flat-footed against Marcos Maidana. It was some other Miguel Cotto. He was flat-footed there. He fought flat-footed against Cotto. So, but Canelo's not flat-footed. You watching him against Alfredo Angulo. You watching him against, who else? Alfredo Angulo. Certain parts of the Trout fight. He went up on his toes. First Triple G fight. Who else? I'm trying to think, where he's actually fighting off the back foot and he's sticking and moving. We don't give any professional athletes attributes they are not shown on a consistent level or consistently against the best level opposition. He's flat-footed. Listen to those names you're using. No. That's what I'm trying to tell you. These are guys who. I'm trying to think of who else. James Kirkland, not so much. Kirkland fight he was flat-footed, I think, in the Kirkland fight. I'm trying to think of other guys. Shane Mosley, I think the Shane Mosley fight, he was fighting on his toes as well. But he's younger then, and he was throwing a lot more combinations. I think the younger version of him was more light-footed. But then he became flat-footed when he realized he had some power. But he's quick. He's fast, and he can box off his toes. One can look skilled against weaker competition. It's what they do against elite. But the thing about it is, though, you're saying he's a flat-footed fighter. That is to say, he can only fight like a Danny Garcia. He can only fight on with his feet flat. But that's not the case. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying he's very capable of fighting on his toes. He could dance like a wizard against me for sure, but he's flat-footed. Mosley was old. It don't matter though. I'm saying he fought Mosley. He was moving all around him, pivoting all around him, doing all kinds of things. I'm just saying. All right. You could differ in opinion. My opinion is I think he's capable of doing it. I just didn't think he wants to do it. He's trying to find a way not to use his feet a lot. Yes, yes, yes. I got you. I got you. I know what you mean. They say he's slow-footed too. I never saw that. I never saw him being slow-footed. I think he's inconsistent with his footwork, which tells me that's his weak. That's the weak part of his game. But I never really saw him as slow-footed. And people keep on saying that over and over, and I'm like, slow-footed? I don't see. Okay. Not a shaded Mr. Watt. Okay. Fair enough. I mean, you might be right. You might be right in terms of when you look at the majority of his fights, especially of late, he's been flat-footed. You're right about that. So I get you. I'm limited in word count, so I'm keeping my stuff as quick and short as I can. No problem, man. But you know your boxing, man. I like that. I like that we could actually talk boxing. Piece of shit. You call this fight right. I don't know why people be thinking you crazy. No, 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 man. I talk boxing. You know that. It's boxing I come from. And I explained to people the Caleb Plant fight. I said that, let's just go through it. Look at my history, right? Kovalev versus Canelo, I said was a shit fight because Kovalev was coming off of a tough fight with Anthony Yarde, and Canelo would break down the body. Kovalev impressed me with that fight that he had. Even though he lost, I thought he boxed beautifully, and I told people that. Canelo did counter his right hands and stuff, kept his right hands at home. We later learned that Kovalev actually was a bit, over, coming off of one heavy fight and then going to another was not necessarily the best thing for him. Then we went on to, I predicted the Callum Smith fight correctly. I told you that Canelo was going to beat up Callum Smith because Callum Smith can only fight on the outside. And Canelo is a guy that can get past a jab. And that's just what he do. They try to disable jabs. Even in this Bivol fight here, Canelo's trying to disable Bivol's jab by hitting him on the arm, take away his jab from him. And Andy Ruiz actually did that to this guy's name. I forgot his name. Chris Arreola, right? Chris Arreola knocked down. For those of you who don't know, go watch this fight. It's great. Chris Arreola actually knocked down Andy Ruiz once in the fight, and stunned him a couple of times, countering Andy Ruiz. Again, Joe Goossen's work. He countered Andy Ruiz and hurt him pretty bad. But Andy Ruiz was able to shut him down by throwing that right hook on Chris Arreola's shoulder. And the reason why it worked is because Chris Arreola squared up and he had the two guard like this again, the high guard. And so when you have the high guard, you can get hit on the shoulder and it can really hurt you, eventually taking away your jabbing arm, which is what Canelo did to Callum Smith. He wrecked Callum Smith's arm. But he couldn't do it to Bivol because Joe Diaz, not Joel, Joel, no, Joel Diaz, he was able to ice Bivol's shoulder so he didn't take away the jab from Bivol. So that's why his shoulder didn't swell up. Rich Cola said, yeah, man, I have a bias towards boxers. That's my favorite style in the ring. Maybe not exciting to the masses, but extremely stimulating to me. That's great. That's great, man. That's great. I love the sweet science. So whether you're a swarmer, whether you're a boxer, whether you're a pressure fighter, whether you're and there's different kinds of pressure fighters. There's pressure fighters who cut the distance and fight you on the inside. There are pressure fighters that fight from range, and they got that bomb. Like, Thomas Hearns, he put pressure on you and then boom! Right? They're really called boxer punches, but nonetheless. And then you have, the boxes, which the sweet science, all that. I just love to see the sweet science on display. So I don't care if you're fighting in a phone booth or if you're fighting from distance or if you're fighting at mid-range. Just show me the sweet science. That's all. And I'm cool. I'm not against any style. I like a little barn burner where guys are hitting each other and banging out. It's just cool too, but it's not my favorite. My favorite is when I see people actually utilizing the sweet science because that's I have to face up and face people also in the ring. So I'm always preparing myself for that. So I'll appreciate that a whole lot more than just a bang out because I can't use it. Be up Floyd, Crawford, Haney, Shakur, Ward. I just have that preference. Canelo's a boxer puncher. He got enough skill to do certain things, but he's limited. Yeah, he's a little bit limited. But again, let me just make it abundantly clear. Canelo's a hell of a fighter, and he's slick as fuck. And, he's got skills, mad skills. His defense is on point. Ain't nobody knocking out Canelo, I can tell you all that. But his defense is always on point. And he got, he's always had wrinkles to his game. He's a great fighter. Just that, like James Toney, he got this one little niggle, which is, dude, you need to just respect distance. You must have that foot speed to be able to get in and get out when you need to. Bud is a complete fighter, so he can box, punch, all of it. Floyd was when he was younger. Yeah, pretty boy Floyd was something. Bud is a bad boy. He's a bad boy. And Jerome Ennis, they're bad boys, man. Errol's not bad too himself, but I'm just saying, them two special. Little barn burners are cool. These guys are doing things I can't, but they bore me. I just love the sweet science, like you said. Watching this stuff in slow motion, slow down makes it 10 times more enjoyable. Yeah, I mean, slow motion is cool. I like to see it in real time because, again, if I'm in the ring, I need to see everything in real time. So for me, when I get into the ring, I prefer to see it like that or see what the boxer's actually setting up to do. Because I don't even care about individual punches and that kind of shit anymore in boxing. I really care about what the fighter's actually setting up to do. So I'm watching and I'm saying, and when you sit there to see the thing unfold, I mean, if I'm in the ring and I can see it up close and personal like that, if I can see what the boxer's trying to do between the punches and stuff, that is even better for me. You know what I mean? So, for me, it's always about the long-term goal. What is boxer trying to do? And once you kind of understand, all you need to understand is the game plan, in other words, to some degree. Because if you know what your game plan is and you're executing your game plan, it really doesn't matter what their game plan is, but it does kind of matter in a way so that you can have an idea to foil that and execute your game plan even better. You know what I mean? But most boxers, we really don't pay attention too much to game plan of other people. We really just focus on our own game plan. But I'm saying when going over their fights, it's easy to catch the thing slowing down the tape to catch all the detail. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, yeah, for especially for casual fans, for them to see that. But to point out something to casual fans. But in real time, you ain't got that luxury. If I'm stepping into the ring to do pro fights, bro. So I I don't have the luxury of slow motion. I can't freeze a fight and slow it down. And I'm about to punch this dude, but he looked like he's gonna counter me. Okay, let's watch that in slow motion. I don't have to. You get what I'm saying? I don't have that luxury, so I have to see it in real time. I don't have slow motion replay. You know what I mean? You have to know what it is you're watching in real time, the techniques and everything, and so and the skills and the science and the game plans. You have to know that in real time. I'm just saying, I understand what you're saying. As a fan, you take it in, you slow it down and all that, and watch detail. It's cool. I mean, I got you. I got you. Trust me, I got you. I'm just saying that, at times it's tricky, man. One of the things I've been able to do now is I can just watch maybe 2-3 minutes, maybe a round or two of a fighter, and kind of know what they bring to the table. Almost everything they bring to the table, which is really cool. So I describe the fighter and their style for you, and I find that beautiful. That I'm getting to that point because, when you do boxing, you begin to see the boxing, and so it's a lot. I think it's a lot more advantageous. And that's what I try to explain to fight fans. Y'all need to start boxing, man. Start and get somebody probably who's a good trainer or something to train you, and just start boxing. You don't have to do it as a pro. You don't have to do it as amateur, but it really is a sport that you have to experience to really I think, fully grasp what really is going on as a fan in that ring, because the appreciation for boxing it goes way up in the sky when you start to do it. You're not doing boxing. You really, I believe you're shortchanging yourself of what really is happening there and the respect that's necessary. I know there's a lot of people who are very respectful of fighters and stuff, but I'm telling you, man, you do the sport, you have a lot more respect because you realize what's involved in it. But yeah, that's what I got for you guys. I thought I'd come back to you guys, talk about Canelo versus Bivol. There are very few fighters that can beat Canelo. I think out here, Bivol is one of them. Um, People say, well, Canelo versus Usyk. Usyk's a heavyweight, so we're not really going to talk about Usyk. That make no sense. Well, he's a heavyweight. Canelo's nowhere near heavyweight right now. He's thinking of going up and facing the cruiserweights, and I don't know about that either. He could if he wants to, but now people are beginning to realize, and they may have a little bit more confidence in the fact that if you have a very excellent jab and you have good footwork, you could possibly beat Canelo. So it's one of those things where Riz Cola says, me and Edwin Alvarez got the same barber. He's a heavyweight. Luis Ortiz camp. Ooh, right in Liberty City, Miami. Oh, shit. He connected me with a trainer named Floyd down here years ago, but I was 21 in the streets. Oh, shit. Man, but you know your boxing, brother. You know your boxing. It's very rare now these days that you can find fight fans that actually know their damn boxing. And it's good you know your boxing, bro. And I hope you grow in greater knowledge with it. And this explains to me why it is you know boxing so well. You actually been with people in boxing. What I say though is, I hope that Canelo learns from this and he actually tries to work on his game more in that area, because he really does lack in that area. But there's not many boxers out there that can beat Canelo. I'll be straight with you. And the other thing is, I think that Canelo is that the fact that people were even mentioning heavyweights to face Canelo was quite impressive. He's gone through what, 4 divisions, if I'm not mistaken. Light heavyweight, super welterweight, super middleweight, and super welterweight. He's won championships in, and he came up from welterweight. So I mean, he's done tremendously well. And who knows? The book is still open on him. So if he works on certain things in his game, he can really fine tweak things and do even better. You know. But as it is now, I don't think he's gonna. You're definitely a motivation, man, for you to pursue it. Now I'm rooting for you. You approach the sport with nothing but love. You're too nice, but I know you come from that generation of politeness. Yes, sir. Also, I do believe that. In the sport of boxing, you gotta be positive. You gotta be a positive-minded person. You listen to most of the boxers; they're very positive people, man. They got good hearts. They're nice people, really. They just believe in themselves. They believe in their skills, and they do what they do. I mean, I can't have nothing but respect for them. I have a lot of love for boxers because I know, the punishment that you take, whether it's in sparring, training you punish your body in every single way you can talk about. Because the training is difficult, and then sparring is difficult. You're taking punches. Remember, you're taking punches. This is all you're doing. I mean, you probably street fighting and stuff already. So, but I'm just saying, it's a tough sport. The average person would not try to put themselves through this. The average person would not try to put them. So it's just a special sport to me. And the last thing you need is people talking negativity around you. Even the boxers themselves, they tend to encourage one another. even after a fight, two opponents, they show respect and nothing but love for each other. It might have been a nasty promotion, but they put that beside them, and then they may go out for drinks or whatever. So the sport's not really, because I mean, when you reach a certain level in the sport, there's very few of you at that level. You know what I mean? There's very few of that kind of fighter that has been that successful. It's very few people. I mean, we talk about a handful of names, out there, and then talk about a handful of names that can bring the cash. The top guys, of which Canelo is one of them. So, it's very rare. You know, and then to become a world champion, that's pretty rare. That's pretty rare too. When you think about millions and millions of people, millions and millions of boxers out there, and we're talking about in the history of boxing. We're talking about we have less than 4,000 world champions. Less than 4,000. I don't even think. I think we have probably about. I think in all. I'm talking about primary world champions. I'm not talking about no secondary world champion. Fuck that. I'm talking about primary world champions. We have about maybe 1,000, 2,000 men and women. That's not much in the history of boxing. That's not much. So it's a very elite. You should sort of join a certain elite club when you become a world champion, and then on top of that, when you're somebody it's a handful of names in the history of boxing. You know, we go through the top 100 boxers of all time. It starts to get the names begin to become less and less recognizable as you go down the list. So when you think about it, the amount of boxers, great boxers, that names get repeated, repeatedly by fans and people in boxing, ain't not much. It's just a handful of names, maybe 20 names that keep getting repeated, and that's really amazing. Anyways, man, I'm gonna catch you guys later. I am what you need, and my name is Anderson Phillip, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We went for like an hour, 27 minutes, and 17 seconds. So we could talk forever on this shit. So I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna zip it right here. It was nice talking to Reese Cola. Man knows his boxing, as well as it was nice talking to Poopy Sistrunk. Intangible Boxing. I haven't talked to Intangible in a while. And also there was somebody else. I can't remember his name. Oh yeah, just now it come to me. Boxing Monster. Boxing Monster was also up in the building. I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace.